So, you're a contractor working in Rhode Island, and let's be honest, the rules around bonding can be a little confusing. Do you need a license or just registration, a bond or insurance? Well, we're going to break it all down for you, make it super clear so you can get to work without any guesswork.
All right, let's jump right into the big question. Do you actually need a contractor bond to work in Rhode Island? The short answer is, it depends. Unlike some other states, Rhode Island doesn't have a one-size-fits-all rule. It really comes down to the specific type of work that you do.
And here's the key to figuring it all out. You have to understand Rhode Island's two-track system. See, the state splits contractors into two main groups, those who just need to register their business and those who actually have to be licensed. And believe me, those two paths have very different requirements.
Okay, let's put these two tracks side by side. On one side, you've got registration. This is for the vast majority of contractors. The main requirement here is liability insurance, but, and this is super important, no surety bond is needed. Then on the other side, you have licensing. This is for a very small group of specific trades, and this is the path that requires you to get a surety bond. And just so we're clear, that surety bond is basically a financial guarantee that protects your clients and the state in case a job doesn't go as planned.
So let's zoom in on that second group, the contractors who need to get a license and a bond. If you think you might be in one of these trades, you're going to want to pay close attention. So which trades actually need a license? You might be surprised. It's a very short and specific list. The state of Rhode Island only requires a license for two specialty trades: underground utility contractors and commercial roofers. That's it. If you're not one of those, you almost certainly fall under the registration track we just talked about. And for those two licensed trades, the state has a very specific bond amount in mind. Both underground utility contractors and commercial roofers have to get a $20,000 surety bond to be properly licensed and operate legally in Rhode Island.
And where does this bond get filed? Well, the official state agency you'll be dealing with is the Rhode Island Contractors Registration and Licensing Board, or as you'll probably call them, the CRLB. They're the ones who handle everything for both registration and licensing in the state.
Now, let's switch gears and talk about that much larger group of contractors out there, the general contractors. For y'all, the process is different. You're on that registration track, which means the focus is on having the right insurance, not getting a bond.
So what triggers the need to register? It's all about the value of your projects. If you're doing residential work on any project over $1,000, you have to register. For commercial work, that threshold is a bit higher at $5,000. Okay, and instead of a bond, what do registered contractors need? General liability insurance. And the required coverage amount is pretty substantial. You need to carry $500,000 in coverage. This is the main financial protection the state requires for this group.
Let's be absolutely crystal clear on this point, because it's probably the biggest source of confusion. For your state registration in Rhode Island as a general contractor, there is absolutely no surety bond requirement. You need insurance, not a bond. Simple as that.
Okay, now, there is one major exception to all of this that can bring bonds into the picture for almost any contractor, and that's when you decide to work on public, government-funded projects. This is where a state law called the Little Miller Act comes into play.
So what exactly is the Little Miller Act? You can think of it as a safety net for taxpayer money. It's a state law specifically for government construction jobs, and it makes sure the project gets finished and all the subcontractors and suppliers get paid. It does this by requiring contractors to get specific bonds for the job.
So here's how it works. If you're the main contractor on a public works project that's valued at over $10,000, this act kicks in. You're going to need a 100% performance bond, which guarantees you'll complete the project. And you'll also need a 100% payment bond, which guarantees all your subs and suppliers get paid.
Okay, let's circle back to our licensed pros, the commercial roofers and the underground utility contractors. If you need that required $20,000 state bond, what's it actually going to cost you? Let's break down the real numbers.
A really common question we get is, do I have to pay the full $20,000? And the answer is no, not at all. You only pay a small percentage of that amount, which is called the premium. For most folks with decent credit, that premium rate is usually between just 1% and 3% per year.
So what does that look like in actual dollars? Well, with that 1% to 3% rate, your annual cost for that $20,000 bond is typically going to be somewhere between $200 and $600. It's really just a normal, affordable cost of doing business for licensed contractors in Rhode Island. All right, let's do a quick recap of the most important things to remember. First, for most general contractors, it's about registration and you only need insurance. Second, licensing, which does require a bond, is only for commercial roofers and underground utility contractors. Third, that required bond amount is $20,000. And finally, don't forget that public jobs play by a whole separate set of rules under the Little Miller Act.
So if you're a commercial roofer or an underground utility contractor in Rhode Island and you're ready to get that license, the next step is super simple. You can get your surety bond quote in minutes at buysuretybonds.com.